Alright, hello everyone. Welcome to another vlog. I actually shot this vlog yesterday, and I almost posted it, and now I'm glad I didn't post it. Something went wrong when I was trying to post it, and I'm glad I didn't post it, because from yesterday to today there have been some updates. There have been some changes, some new things are coming, and there's some things I want to talk about. So, let's get into it. Excuse me as I dump one of the nice things about living in the countryside, I don't know if you guys can see, but behind my house is just kind of wood. I can just dump my tea out the window. By the way, also, I have done a lot of tea tables over my years, from very big ones to very small ones to strong ones to delicate ones. This is probably one of my favorites. It's just so simple. It's just a piece of fucking plastic. I might end up putting this on the website. And there is a spot if you want to put in a tube, you can. I don't. I just fucking dump it. So, yeah. All right. What are we gonna drink today? I was not prepared for this. We could do some Sheemans. We could do some white teas. I know what we're gonna drink today. We're gonna be right back. Boom! Alright, today we're going to be drinking let me get a good one. I remember why. Old Tree Gongmei. This is a tea that I had on the website for a while. And I quite like it. It hasn't aged great, even in the 1 year. I'm going to talk about that in a second. It hasn't aged great. We'll talk about this in a second also. Very twiggy. I'm just going to snap it in half. Just snap it in half and throw everything in there. Hasn't aged great. You know, when I first got it, a lot of notes of, it was very chamomile, very chrysanthemum, bright, floral, that sort of feeling. But then as it aged, it lost some of its brightness. It lost some of its floralness, which really kind of took away what I liked about it. And it's not aging great, but it's nice. It's a nice change of pace. It's a very different flavor profile than other white teas. Nice change of pace. All right, so let's talk about, at the end, we're going to end with talking about shipping. There's a lot of shipping stuff I want to talk about. That's going to be at the end. I'm going to just run through a few things and then we'll talk about shipping, issues with shipping. Last night, this morning, I had a call with Lakes and Rivers Tea. We're going to do a live Monday at 11 a.m. Eastern time, so 11 p.m. China time. We're going to do a live. Basically what happened was recently Rivers and Lakes has been posting a lot of good content about white tea. And the content they've been posting is very informative, very easy to understand. You look very approachable, but also very in-depth. And not surface level. Someone who has clearly been to the region multiple times, talked to a lot of different people, read some things, a lot of good stuff there. So I messaged them and I was like, hey, let's do a live. And he was like, fuck yeah, let's do it. And even we had a quick call to kind of plan it out. And even in the call about the live, we started getting into talking about tea. And it got to the point where we had to be like, okay, wait, we gotta save this for the live. There's a lot of good stuff. Because we've also exchanged messages about some of the information about white tea. You know, when I've posted about white tea, they've messaged me and we've talked about white tea, and so I know they have a lot of good content. Main things we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about a lot of things. The recent history of white tea, I think, is one that I'm very excited to talk about because they mentioned it in their last video. I've talked about a little bit how the recent history of white tea isn't really what I think people think it is. It's much shorter and it's much shallower than I think people think. We're going to talk about that. We'll talk about cultivars and just what cultivars were used and the renamings and this and that. We're going to talk about how me and him, we source teas a little bit differently. So I'm really excited for this because what's really cool is we both know a lot about white tea, but we both know very different things. Like some of the things he was talking about in his recent YouTube video, which I'm pretty sure has been released. He sent me the preview link. Some of the things he was talking about, I didn't know about. I didn't know. I didn't know, but I had heard things that like he talked about this one person who made white tea popular. I had heard that reference. People I know were like, in the 80s, this was encouraged. And then the Lakes and River video was like, and this guy in the 80s really wanted to promote fooding. And I said, oh, that's the guy. And so I hadn't heard it, but I knew it was true because I knew my white tea people had talked about it. So I'm very excited for that. I'm looking forward to that a lot. Really quick, talking about this tea as I get into it. So kind of like I mentioned in the last video, old tree heirloom cultivars are very twiggy. This is a very common one. In the past, when I've drank this tea, I've just snapped off the twig. I've just done that. Today, I am... but when I went to my friend's shop last time, I saw that her version, she just snapped it. And she said that it gave the body like a very milky texture. So today, I'm trying that. And I kind of see what she means. We'll see. All right, I'm going to play with this one a little bit. This one's not on the website. Sometimes I think about putting it back on the website, but it's expensive, and I don't think it's quite worth the price. All right, so subscription box. We're going to talk about subscription boxes, and then we're going to talk about shipping. Subscription boxes. So next week, I'm going to put out a new round of subscription boxes. I do have to check my phone for something. Oh, where's my phone? Next week, I'm going to put out a new round of subscription boxes, or the new subscription box rounds begins. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. Originally, I liked this idea of Chow Wang, Tea King, where I do a box talking about that focus on tea competitions, and really some of the things I don't like about tea competitions and some of the negative impacts that actually has on the market. And some of this, and what does it mean? Because what you see that, probably will do this actually. Tea competition teas, the teas that win tea competitions, which are supposedly the best white teas, a lot of the time, like when I drink them, I'm just kind of like, it's not that good. It's okay. It's boring. And so we're probably going to end up talking a lot about that. That was my main idea, and as I say it out loud, I'm like, yeah, I kind of do like that idea. Another idea was red teas, possibly Chimens. Next month, I could go back to Huangshan, spend a weekend in Huangshan getting some Chimens. We'll see. Also, Fuding red teas. Fuding has potential to make amazing red teas, and they do. And the reason for this, one of the reasons for this is that white tea making, the focus on white tea is super, super recent, 20, 30 years, 2010 more or less, about 2008, 2009 is when the explosion first started. Um, and before that, there was a lot more different types of tea. There was green teas, there was jasmine teas, there was a little bit of white teas, but even white teas were different. Um, and there was red teas. And actually, for a long time in Fuding's history, red teas were the main production, the main tea. With famous red teas, you had Bailin Gongfu, Panyang Konggu, Golden Monkey. If you ever gone to like an English style tea shop and gotten Golden Monkey, that's Bailin Gongfu. Bailin is in Fuding. So you have, and so unlike other regions that have focused on a main tea, let's say Bilochun, for example, focused on this main tea, and then with the recent, popularity of red tea, has tried using some of their later picks and tried making red tea with average to maybe slightly interesting results. Fuding is kind of the opposite, where Fuding for a long time was making red tea, and then recently switched the focus. But what that means is you still have time-honored practices. You still have skills and knowledge that have been passed down through generations. You have trees that were made for red teas. You have Fuding Da Bai, which is one of the most popular cultivar is Fuding Da Hao. And predating that a little bit is Fuding Da Bai. Fuding Da Bai originally was used for red teas. I have a white tea, because you can make good white tea. I have a white tea, an old tree white tea, about 80-year-old tea trees from Fuding Da Bai. And it was planted by the maker's uncle. And I asked him, I said, what was this originally used for? He said, it was originally used for black tea. Because he and everyone else I talked to say, before, 1980s, 1990s, before that, 1990s and before, we mostly made red tea. And we made jasmines, we made greens, and there was some whites, but whites were different. Whites were not what we think of whites today. They had a black, the leaf color was black, the flavor was different. So Fuding actually really does make a lot of amazing red teas. Obviously, with the popularity of white teas, a lot of people have focused on whites, and they're producing that more. But a lot of makers have good red teas, have really good red teas, and actually use a lot of different varieties. I have the Tia Kuan Yin red, I have the Jin Mudan red, I have a Jin Guan Yin red. Obviously, I have the Helu varietal reds, the Fuding Da Bai reds. There's a lot of really great teas and a lot of different cultures. The red tea world in Fuding, I think, is really underappreciated. So that's a possible thing to come. What I might actually end up doing for that is I might end up offering a box that is not a subscription box, but can be bought on the website. So probably next week I will do Cha Wang. The next box will be Cha Wang, because I do have some people I want to talk to and people I want to buy from, actually. So that's probably going to be it. All right. Fucking shipping. Let's talk about fucking shipping, because shipping is the bane of my fucking existence. I swear to God. And it's always been. I think I told the story. Shipping has been an issue since day one. Since my first month or two in China, when I created this, I did this campaign to sell white teas, and I sold these white teas, and this is when no one really knew about me, but I managed to do all this, create all this buzz, and sell enough white teas to turn a profit, and then that profit was killed by shipping. Killed by shipping. Of course, back then I wasn't using a shipper, and I was just doing EMS straight, which is much more expensive, but still, not the point. Shipping is having a lot of problems recently, and I think I might have mentioned this in a previous video. It seems like a lot of shipments are hitting America, getting through customs, and then just stopping. And on the tracking number, it says tracking slip has been created and it hasn't been picked up by USPS, which is a very strange spot to stop. And I'm gonna ask the maker what exactly, who's doing this transfer? You know, is it USPS? Is it a shipping company? Is it someone from their company in America? Does she know? Because it's just a very strange spot to stop, and all the packages seem to be stopping there. There's a shit ton of packages stopping there. And there's not much I can do. And what's really, and this is, once again, I've talked about this before, where it's hard when you don't know. It's hard when you don't know. So for example, I have all these orders that have come in the last few days, and I am very hesitant to send them out. I'm very hesitant to send them out. Because I don't know. Are they going to make it? Is this a momentary thing that's just going to clear up and all the packages are going to move again? Or are these getting stuck? I saw another post that said the FDA is no longer allowing tea to be shipped. They're cracking down on this idea that tea is food. And they're not allowing that to be shipped. So is that the problem? But at the same time, if that's the problem, then the packages, like I said, are clearing customs. And that's the weird part. So it's just a lot of I don't know at the end of the day. And that's the shitty part. It's a lot of I don't know. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And then once again, it's I don't know. And so part of me wants to hold up on shipping and just see if these leave. If these leave, part of me wants to send these packages out and just hope for the best. Because once again, this stuff like this has happened before. It's happened before, and in the past, things have just kind of cleared up. You know, there's a bit of a bottleneck, and then they got moving again. But especially going into the holiday season, it is going into the holiday season, and that does tend to slow things down. But it's hard to tell. It's hard to tell. At the moment, what I'm probably going to do is keep shipping out orders because nothing is wrong. According to my shipper, this is a bit of a backlog, but there's nothing actually happening to these teas. They're not being detained. They're not being held. So I do have to assume for the moment that things are moving normally. Well, that it will move normally again, but I will put on the top of the website, shipping is delayed, shipping are issues. I have heard that other companies are having similar problems. I heard White 2T is having a similar problem. So, yeah, that's that. And that's that. And there's not much I can do. There's not much else I can, it's the shitty part about shipping. It's just gotta, I don't know, there's nothing to be done. You send it out and you hope for the best. I think I liked it a little bit better without so many twigs. I think I did. Let's do a steep again. I'm going to remove these twigs. I kind of see what she means by giving it a milky feeling. But hold on, I think I'm gonna snap away these twigs. This was another reason that I ended up not really I didn't really like selling this tea, is because it's super twiggy. It's super twiggy, and in a way that I don't like. You almost like, that's one gaiwan of twigs. It's insane. That's a lot. It's a lot of twigs. And so it felt weird to weigh it out and to know that I was sending customers this many twigs. And that's why when I did sell it, I would always pack it a little bit heavy, like put a little more grams to kind of make up for it. But it was tricky because I was, I was paying this much. When I bought it, this was in the bag, and so it was, I paid for it. It was a weird thing. It was a weird thing. So I am. It's an interesting tea. It's an interesting tea, and it's a nice tea to break the monotony that can be white teas, which is another thing we might talk about with the heirloom, with lakes, river and lakes, is how the white tea region is now very much dominated by one or two cultivars, and really just one cultivar. And so it's nice to see this other cultivar. It's nice to see another cultivar and get other flavors and still get some of what we like about white teas. That light, that brightness. We're going to sit that one for a little bit longer. Oh yeah, that's much better. That's much better without the... I'm dumping it because I want to end this video and get on this next steep. Much better without the twigs. Much better without the twigs. Very hot. Much better without the twigs. Yeah, it's really good. That's really good, actually. But twiggy and just kind of a bitch. Just kind of a bitch to put in there. Alright, well, I'm going to end this today. Thank you all for watching. If there's anything you want me to talk about in the future, anything about selling tea, living in China, some of the challenges, some of the questions you have about, it can be about tea as well. Leave that in the comments. Really appreciate any likes, any subscriptions. That lets me know that people are watching these videos and enjoying these videos, and I should do more. All right, thank you all.